And it says we are live once again.
One more time. Hello, folks.
Happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday.
To our TeaFlixers. We're just going to make sure that Martin can see us up there in the control room and that all is live and well and pumping away. So today we are, just beyond thrilled and excited and honored and all of those superlatives. Our guest, courtesy of another friend, Charles Rosenet, the event producer, who's got a wonderful M60 Monkeys convention coming up September 4th, 5th, and 6th in North Haven, Connecticut. And our guest today is going to be the guest of honor and talk all about his friendship with the Monkeys and shooting them. And if you've seen the promos, you already know that today's guest, and I'll tell you some about him, is none other than Henry Diltz, who is one of the most celebrated photographers in rock and roll history, renowned for capturing some of the most recognizable musicians, album covers, and defining moments of the 60s and 70s and beyond. Born Henry Stanford Diltz, isn't that posh?
Rather posh, yes.
On September 6th, so he's got a birthday coming up, in Kansas City, Missouri, he began his creative career not as a photographer, but actually as a musician. He was a member of the influential folk group, the Modern Folk Quartet, or MFQ. His transition into photography happened almost by accident when he bought a secondhand camera and began photographing his musician friends around Southern California. Living and working amid the flourishing Laurel Canyon music scene, Henry found himself surrounded by artists who would become some of the biggest names in popular music. His relaxed, unobtrusive approach allowed him to photograph musicians as friends rather than celebrities, giving his work the intimate, natural quality that became his trademark, sort of the fly on the wall thing, I guess you call it. Over the course of his career, Henry's photographed more than 250 album covers, as well as thousands of publicity and documentary photographs. His subjects have included The Doors, the one and only Paul McCartney, Jimi Hendrix, Neil Young, Crosby, Stills and Nash, Joni Mitchell, Jackson Browne, James Taylor, Linda Ronstadt, the Eagles, America, the Monkees, and my personal favorite, David Cassidy, among many others. Among his most famous images is the photograph used for the Doors' 1970 album, Morrison Hotel. He photographed the band through the front window of the downtown LA hotel after the desk clerk, who had initially refused permission for a photo shoot, temporarily left the lobby. The resulting photograph became one of rock music's most enduring album covers. Other celebrated album covers photographed by Henry include Crosby, Stills and Nash's self-titled debut album, James Taylor's Sweet Baby James, the Eagles' debut album, and Desperado. He was also the official photographer at the legendary Woodstock Music and Art Fair in 1969, where he's actually been attending last week. But in 69, he documented the performers, the audience, and the extraordinary atmosphere of an event that became one of the defining moments of the counterculture era. Henry's work has also chronicled other major festivals and an extraordinary period in American history. Unlike the carefully staged celebrity photography that later became commonplace, Diltz's best-known photographs often came from simply spending time with artists. He is also a co-founder of the Morrison Hotel Gallery, which became an important international showcase for fine art music photography and represents the work of many of rock music's most significant photographers, including, of course, his own. His photographs have appeared in books, exhibitions, magazines, and galleries around the world. His published collections include California Dreaming and Unpainted Faces, preserving many of his intimate portraits and behind-the-scenes photos from decades spent amongst music's greatest artists. In 2023, he received the Abbey Road Music Photography Awards Lifetime Achievement Award, recognizing his extraordinary contribution. Now, more than 6 decades after first picking up a camera, Henry remains not only simply a photographer of rock stars, but a participant in the history he documented because he himself was a musician and a trusted friend of his many subjects. Today, his archive stands as one of the great visual chronicles of modern popular music, documenting an era when Laurel Canyon, Woodstock, and the emerging singer-songwriter movement helped transform American culture. And coming up on September 4, 5, and his birthday, the 6th of September, he will be the guest of honor at the M60 Monkeys Convention in North Haven, Connecticut. I want to say New Haven, it's North Haven, and you can see the website scrolling across the bottom. So it is our extreme honor and pleasure to welcome, ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Henry Diltz.
Hello, Henry.
Hello.
Hello, everybody. Hi,
Welcome.
Ruth. Hi, Angela.
Oh,
Thank
hi.
you very much. Pleasure to be here.
Oh, it's a
I'm
pleasure
in
to have you.
upstate New York, actually. I'm in
Are
upstate
you?
New York right now at my brother's house. My
How's-
two brothers and two sisters are here.
Oh,
And we
good.
just had the Woodstock, yearly get together of all the, the kind of
Yeah.
the Woodstock survivors. There's 4 or 5 or 6
Yeah.
of us.
Wow, that's great. So who was there this weekend? Who'd you see?
Oh, well, I mean, Rona Elliott, who worked in the office, Tisha, who was Michael Lang's personal assistant, and who else? And Chip Monk. His
Oh,
name was
yeah.
Edward Herbert Beresford Monk, and his friends called him Chip. So Chip Monk was the lighting director and very
Yeah.
famous guy. He also did the
That's crazy.
California concert. Sometimes
Yeah,
I can't think of the name. The
Oh,
Monterey Pop Festival. There it is. Okay.
Oh,
And he
great.
was there. And then also we had a couple of guests. We had John Sebastian from the Love and Spoonful came, and Arlo Guthrie
Oh,
came, Woody
wow.
Guthrie's son, and both good friends of mine. I did the album covers for them. And then Judy Collins came also as a guest. So we
oh,
had a wonderful time. Yeah.
wow. Well, so, and hopefully it wasn't so muddy as the first time.
No, it wasn't muddy at all. we were mostly inside, anyway. We were camped out on the hillside.
That's
Mhm.
great. That first, seeing the pictures now, I don't even know how you managed a camera and lenses with that weather that you had in 1969. Good grief.
Yeah.
That's absolutely
Well,
crazy.
I wasn't sitting out in the rain. Yeah, I was mostly up on stage, and I kept my equipment dry, let's say.
Right.
Yeah.
Keep your powder dry, as they say.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
remember you on stage before we wind back to the beginning. The first time I met you, you were nicknamed the Mad Tad, and you were in David Cassidy's touring band playing harmonica.
Oh, yes.
That's right.
That's right. And I was so
Yes.
excited to see you. And
Was that Manchester?
it was the Main Road football ground in Manchester, England.
Wow.
And
Wow.
Tony Barrow, who was the Beatles PR, was also David's PR. And he got Angie and me and my cousin Liz Harris
Mhm.
Backstage, and we were all a Twitter. And unfortunately, Cassidy,
Yeah.
did a runner and got in the limo. But we got to meet you and Kim Carnes and Dave Ellingson.
Oh, that's
Oh, yeah,
right.
they in the band. Yeah.
That's
That
right.
was fun. Great
It was-
fun to tour around the world with
That's
those guys.
going back some years, isn't it?
That's absolutely right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So before we wind back to the beginning, let's talk about what's up next month with the Monkees convention, because you toured and traveled with them and
Yes.
took a lot of the fly on the wall pictures when they were filming, didn't you? How did you get introduced to the
I
Monkees in the
did.
first place?
Well, I often say most everything starts with a phone call.
Yeah.
My phone rings in the kitchen up in Laurel Canyon, and it's the photo editor of Tiger Beat magazine.
Oh,
And
wow.
he says, we would like to hire you for the day to go down tomorrow and photograph the Monkees while they film their weekly show. They do it 5 days a week, but they hired me for one day. And I went down, spent the day, and, met those guys. And we were roughly the same age. And I was kind of like them, a musician as well. And we got on so well that after a while, they said, I'm the only guy that could photograph them. I mean, informally they said that, but I became their photographer because
right.
we were kindred spirits
Sure.
more than the artist and the photographer. Because I don't even think of myself as a photographer. I do take a lot of pictures all the time. Even when I'm not hired, I take 100 pictures a day. I like to look at life that way,
Yeah.
That's
and
wild.
and it wasn't a thing that I set out to do. I like you said, it was an accident that I picked up a used camera on tour in a secondhand store, just imitating the guy in front of me who walked by a table full of secondhand cameras, said, "Oh, a camera, I'll have one." And without thinking, I said, "Yeah, why not?" We were in a secondhand store on the road. You
Oh,
just buy something you don't need, but you just impulsively buy something. So
yeah.
that's what I did, and
Wow.
and three of us bought cameras. Then we stopped and bought some film. And then we had about a week on the road, couple of weeks until we got back home to LA. So every day when we were driving in our van, we'd stop here and there. We'd take pictures of each other or cows in a field or whatever we happened to see. And when we got home to LA and developed the film, it was slide film. I didn't know how it was going to look, but they're little transparencies. I said, oh, look, let's have a slideshow. And it was having that slideshow that made me want to be a photographer, because to see them 8 feet wide on the wall, glowing in the dark with all your friends sitting there. And I thought, this is amazing. This is magical. It's like we're standing there looking at what we looked at, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So I said, I'm going to take more of these so we could have more slideshows. That was the part I liked, of being able to project them and sort of be there again. So I ended up, I thought, I'm going to photograph all my friends during the week. When I see them, naturally, I go to their house or I hang out or we go to lunch or whatever, and I'll take pictures of them. And on the weekend, we can have a slideshow of all of these people, and they would come to the slideshow. And that was great. That worked. And my friends were people like, Mama Cass and Stephen Stills and Neil Young. I mean, we all lived in Laurel Canyon, and we were, we were just peas in a pod. We were kindred spirits, all of us, really.
Absolutely. We have a John Beeland, who is is a musician and erstwhile was a flying burrito brother once upon a time. But he's just saying, Henry took my first publicity pics in 1968, Malibu Canyon from Ranwood Records. Good grief.
Oh, my goodness. Yes.
Small world.
Yeah, sort of remember that. I mean, every day was something, Oh, my gosh.
That's crazy.
So many. Yeah.
You never dreamed where it was going to take you at that stage, did you?
No, didn't dream. I mean, I was going to be so many things in life before I even became a musician. I was going to be a forest ranger.
Oh.
I was going to go to University of Montana and become a forest ranger because I really like animals and the woods. And that summer, my mother said, my father was in the State Department. He was my stepfather. And my mother, that summer, before I left for University of Montana, she said, well, your father's been assigned to Bonn, Germany. You can either go to Montana or come to Europe with us. And I thought, well, I got to always go back to Montana. I'll go to Europe with the family, because that was the third foreign country that we lived in together. So it was fun. We lived in Tokyo for 5 years when I was a little boy, and then Bangkok, Thailand when I was a teenager. And then the third time was Germany. And then I never, and then in Germany, I started sort of playing music a lot, playing guitar and the clarinet and singing in glee clubs and choirs. And my life changed, because of all the people I met there and all the things I did. So I never did make it to Montana.
Well,
time.
It's on your way home from the East Coast. You could always stop in. I saw a fantastic picture of you in doing my research over the weekend playing a banjo. Was that just posed, or do you play the banjo?
No, I played the banjo like Pete Seeger style, not bluegrass, not that real fast picking stuff, but more of a folk accompaniment. As we sang folk songs, we played acoustic instruments. It's kind of a rhythm instrument,
Yeah.
Right. That's actually what John Lennon learned string instruments on. They had a banjo in the house. Before he had a guitar, John Lennon learned to play the banjo.
Yes, his mother taught him.
His mom, Julia, was a banjo player. And so long.
That's great.
Yeah.
And I know they played ukuleles a lot too. Paul McCartney.
Yep.
There playing his ukulele. It was great seeing him do that. Yeah.
That's right. So you were obviously well used to traveling, having lived all around the world. And
and you even traveled with the Monkees, didn't you, during the filming?
Yes, I did. Well, after
their film called Head in 1968, was it?
They did have a movie named Head, which Jack Nicholson helped write and produce.
Really?
And I took photos on 2 or 3 scenes, 2 or 3 occasions. they went to Utah and did a big concert there in Salt Lake City, Utah. And I went to that, and Jack Nicholson was there. And we took pictures in the dressing room of the Monkees and Jack. That was great. But then I think I was off on the road with somebody else. I don't know, because I wasn't there for the whole filming of it, just for part of it.
Right.
But the Monkees, yeah, after photographing them almost every day for a year on their set, it was just natural to go on the summer tour with them.
Sure.
It was more like we were friends, really. I mean, I did take the pictures, and they got used in magazines and all, but I don't know. It just seemed like being on the road with your pals, with your friends. Just
right. I always, when I think of you and I look at your body of work, I always liken your role, if you will, in each given situation, kind of like the White House photographer is. You don't necessarily ever get to know the White House photographer until you go looking, but he's there to document history, candid moments, and it's what you have done in my world is you're the White House photographer of rock and roll.
I love that. I love that. Well, it's true. It's
title of your next book.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, there we go. Yes.
You can have that one. That's on the house.
Yeah. Wow.
Our friend Ashley in Alabama is asking, do you remember what that first camera was that you bought in a secondhand store? And what is your current primary favorite camera that you use nowadays?
Okay. The Japanese camera that I bought for $20, used camera, because it kind of chewed up a little bit of the film. I always say it was a Pony Canyon, a Japanese camera, and it came apart in two pieces. Most cameras that you open the flap and put the film in. This one actually came apart in two pieces. I've never seen that before. But I say Pony, then people say, oh, yes, Kodak had a Pony Canyon. This was not Kodak. It was Japanese camera with Japanese writing on it. And then I quickly got a Pentax, which was a better camera. And then somebody stole my whole camera bag full of Pentax lenses.
Oh, my God.
When I went into the Hollywood cleaners for 5 minutes, I came back out and it wasn't in the back seat of my car anymore. My little Volkswagen, which was a happy accident because a friend of mine loaned me his Nikon camera. And I said, wow, I used the Pentax when I was shooting the Monkees. And yet I have two cameras, one black and white and one color film, because of two different kinds of film. And then with the Pentax, I would bump into a lighting stand or something, and they didn't hold up very well. They weren't strong enough. So when I lost them and I borrowed a Canon, it was like a tank. I said, this is a solid camera. So for all of my film life in the 70s, 80s, 90s, I used a Nikon film camera, two Nikons, black and white and color. And so virtually all the album covers I did, the well-known ones back in the day, were all Nikon with Kodak film. Wow. And then in 2005, I was telling people, I will never go digital. I'm a film guy, And I picked up my friend's Canon that happened to be sitting there, and I looked through it and I said, oh, it's focusing itself. And it's taking its own reading. With my Nikon, I had a spot meter. So if I'm taking a picture of someone in front of me, I take a reading on their cheek and see what that reading is. Then I got to set the lens, set the time. Then I got to put it up. Then I got to focus, and that all took time. The Canon, I picked it up, looked through it. Boy, you could just, you don't even need to be there almost, really. You just, but I am not a technical photographer. I've never had a dark room. I've never really developed a roll of film. I just took the pictures and let somebody else that works in a lab overnight, do that part of it. Wow. I figured if I took pictures all day, I didn't want to be in a dark room all night.
That's right.
So, for me, it's really just framing. Once the camera is going to get the picture right, and these new, the new ones do, of course, automatically.
Yeah.
then you just look and you see what you isolate what you want to photograph, of course, and it's all about framing and balance, and it
Yeah.
feels good when that's great, I got it. I,
Mm.
Wow.
yeah, and also, of course, with digital now, you can see the picture right away, and that helps.
Yeah.
Right.
You know,
Well, if you're doing a posed session, but I was privileged to work in the 1980s for Norman Seeff, who, when he shifted from photography to shooting commercials, I was on the production crew. And he would always say, yes, you can have all of the right equipment and the right lighting but it's just that one glint in somebody's eye. It's that one moment in history that will never be repeated again, and you just have to be present to win.
exactly.
You have to, right?
Yeah.
It's
Exactly.
tiny.
Norman's a good friend of mine. Yeah, we're really a good friend. We operate a little bit differently, though. He does work in a studio with lights and a bunch of people, but I admire what he does. I mean, he has a whole big party, and he gets the person really involved, and then he gets these great one-of-a-kind photos, really.
Yeah.
My thing is just to be there very quietly, and let me say it this way. I found out a couple of years ago that my Chinese animal is the tiger. You have a Chinese animal depending on the year you're born. And they're quite telling, like an astrological sign. But the thing about tigers like to hide in the bushes and watch the other animals. And that's what I do. I mean, I sit there quietly and watch.
Hiding in the bushes.
Yeah,
Hiding
like on
in-
the monkey set. I would hide, not in the bushes. I would hide in the light stands. It would be a lot of metal light stands, and I knew I wouldn't get in the way if I was by those light stands. So I would shoot through there, and then I would have my telephoto lens trained on like Davy Jones' face, across the room while they're filming. And when he would turn around and laugh, I would just push the button. So it was more watching and waiting and seeing and. I never told anyone what to do. I mean, basically, I didn't pose people. I wanted to see real life, and of course, and so did the magazines. Of course, they wanted to see what the monkeys were doing, and so I was just the guy to grab those moments when they didn't even know it.
Right.
Telling moments, yeah.
Well, hence my White House photographer thought about you is just that you were there, in witnessing and capturing history for all the rest of us.
Yeah.
Do you
remember the very first photograph you took when you thought, I might be rather good at this?
Well, those 2 weeks when we first bought the camera, we each took several rolls of film, and I of course I didn't really see all that till we got home and developed it.
Right.
So and then it was I had some great shots of cows. I mean, I love cows. Partly because, the way they fit the frame, they're rectangular, cows and trucks are the same way. They're kind of a rectangular object that fits the frame really well. So I would get down on the ground and look up at the cows through the fence, and they would put their noses down right next to me, and I'd shoot up like that. And I like that. That was fun. So those early pictures were great. It's hard to pick one picture because I would always take so many every day of so many different people and everything,
When you think about nowadays how much it costs to go and the time you had to wait and the suspense to go get the film, drop the film off, get the film developed, wait for it, and just, cross your fingers and hope to God you got one good shot out of 24, right?
Yeah. No, I mean, I knew it worked really well. I mean, I had a spot meter. I would, after a few years, you learn to trust it. You don't really worry. The camera works really great every time, and if you focus it, and if you're right, you'll get a good shot. And like I say, later on, you didn't have to focus even. That's great, for the digital cameras.
Somebody was asking, do you still shoot film or are you strictly digital now?
No, only digital. Once in a while, someone will say, "Oh, we'd like you to photograph such and such, and we want a roll of film as well." And I go, "Oh no, now, you have to buy the film, get it developed. You have to make take a reading. You have to. It's a whole other kind of photography. So
pain in the arse.
I don't really do it. Yeah. It's
I remember when I was a kid and Paul and Linda were staying at home with us one weekend in near Liverpool on Wirral. And of course, Linda's name, her father was Epstein and he changed it to Eastman.
what? I didn't know that.
Oh, Linda,
Well, you do
Linda,
know.
Linda was born Linda Epstein, same
I
as
didn't
Brian.
know that.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. And
Who knew?
Frank Sinatra and the mob wanted John Epstein, Linda's father, to be their lawyer, but they were all their names ended in a vowel, and they're like Epstein. It sounds a little, I don't know. And John's like, what, Jewish maybe? And he's like, yeah. So he changed it to Eastman. So Linda grew up Linda Eastman. Well, in those days, Kodak was Eastman Kodak, right? And she became a very prominent photographer. And they would send her film. And so we were home one time in Liverpool and a big package arrived. They were going off to, I don't know, on a Wings tour, I think, with the Denny's and huge crate of film, Kodak film arrived addressed to Linda East McCartney at our house. And I said to Linda, wow, I said, how did you, because obviously it's 1973 or something. There was no internet. You couldn't order film. And so she said, oh, I know. She said, they just ship me free film because they think that I'm Linda Eastman of Eastman Kodak. And I'm like,
wow. I'm not telling them.
And I'm like, well, but you're not. You're Linda Epstein Eastman McCartney. And she's like,
wow.
Shh, don't tell them. I get free film.
Funny. Wow. Good for her.
Yeah. Isn't that great, though?
She's great. We met as photographers in New York City.
Yeah.
As fellow photographers, we met at Modern Age Photo Lab. It probably was the 66 or 7. No, wait a minute. Yeah, something like that. And I think she was photographing the Rolling Stones and stuff. And we met getting our film developed. And, we kind of, we were friends. Every time I go to New York, I have lunch with her or something. And then one day I read that she married Paul McCartney. Wow. I thought, good for her.
Yeah.
And then sometime later she called and asked me if I would come and take a portrait of the two of them because she did all the photography of Paul because she was, there and his photographer. But when she had to be in the picture, they needed somebody. So I went and spent the day photographing them and it started a big friendship. It was great.
Right. Yeah. I think I see it over your left shoulder on the wall, don't I?
Oh, yes, if you can see that.
Yeah, well,
right there. Yeah.
I cleaned my glasses, so yeah.
Yeah. They didn't tell me what they needed it for, but in the end, they needed it for a cover of Life magazine. So that was a cover of Life magazine in black and white.
I remember it. It's an iconic photo. It's just beautiful, and her arm is just draped, just so fantastic. Yeah, but also, that's an interesting question. As a photographer, photographing another photographer, was it easy to give her direction, or did she push back and go, well, no, I think I should be here? Or
I don't really give direction, I don't say, okay, a little to the left, put your chin up, put your eyes here. No, that ruins the whole thing. I just wait and wait till it looks right in that instant and push the button. No, it didn't make any difference. I didn't. She wasn't taking pictures that day. I didn't think of her so much as a photographer, as Paul's wife, and the kids swimming in the pool and all. That was fun. And then I got a call from them a few years later and went to the Virgin Islands and spent a whole week floating on these boats on Watermelon Bay in the American Virgin Islands while they recorded London Town, the musical tracks for London Town. So I was there for a whole week. That was a lot of fun. A lot of pictures too.
Would that have been George Martin's studio in Montserrat, or were they?
No, it was before that. They recorded right on the boats.
I remember.
We never touched dry land the whole week. We stayed on the boats, slept, ate, recorded, did everything. Yeah.
Wow. I can't imagine having all of that expensive recording equipment next to salt water. I mean, you think it would rust to hell, wouldn't you? Crazy.
I don't know that, that's not my field.
Yeah, no, that's not my
department.
either. So back to Woodstock for a minute, because you're close to that. Did you keep any little souvenirs, or are there any photographs that you took that the world has never seen? Or do you have a specific memory of that whole Woodstock weekend that sort of is just yours and yours alone?
Yeah. For me, it was 2 weeks, because I was there 2 weeks before the concert. When Chip Monk told Michael Lang that he should hire me to come and shoot the festival, I came out 2 weeks early to photograph building the stage. And because, they had spent 4 months building the stage in a different township, and then got voted out at the last minute. And they had 3 weeks to find a new place and build the whole stage and everything. They've just taken 4 months doing that, and they have to leave that all behind and start over at Yasgur's farm at the bottom of a great big green hillside of blowing alfalfa. And it was like summer camp for me.
Yeah.
I mean, for 2 weeks, my job was just to walk around and see what was going on, and sort of, document it, take photos of the people working, putting up tents, putting up the stage, building, doing all that stuff. And it was really fun for me. And it was a surprise at the end of the second week to see a few people up in that field. Wait a minute, what are those people doing here? And this is my summer camp.
Get off my lawn.
Yeah, I mean, there was about 100 people sitting up at the top of the hill. Really, my first thought was, what are those people sitting up there? Oh, I forgot. We're going to have this big concert. And the next day, there was 450,000. They expected 50,000 people. They were planning on 50,000, and they got 450,000. And it was a wonderful thing. And it was really Michael Lang's heart and soul that made that be a beautiful weekend. He just wanted 3 days of peace and music. I believe that's what it was.
Yeah.
Love and peace and music. And it really was. It was peace and love. It was the peace and love generation.
That's right.
Yeah.
Flower power and all of that, right?
Power.
Ashley, so were you there at the end when the trouble broke out, or had you already skipped to go?
That was a different year. Now, that was Woodstock 99.
That's right.
Woodstock 69 ended fine,
Perfect.
Woodstock 94 I went to, that was okay. But then Woodstock 99 was at an air base in upstate New York somewhere.
That's right.
And
it's just too
when
hot.
the concert ended on the third day, someone had passed out these peace candles, just little white candles to light and hold up for peace. Well, when the concert was over and people were, getting out, it took a long time. There was I don't know how many thousands of people, but the people waiting they made little piles of the garbage sitting on the ground around them and made a little fire to warm their hands. So people started lighting little bonfires on in the area where everybody stood in front of the stage, and half the people were gone, but there were these little fires. And then some skateboard kids, started jumping over the fires in their skateboards. And finally, I think something happened. A truck got caught on fire. And it was kind of an unfortunate accident. And the New York State troopers had to come, and they just formed a line and walked slowly through the grounds, kind of just pushing everybody gently out. There was nothing more heavy than that. But yeah.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Well, little fires everywhere, as they say. Thinking back to all of those, not just the live shows, but the album covers.
Was there anyone that genuinely surprised you by being completely different from their public image?
Anybody who's like super loud on stage, but maybe super shy when you.
No, I really did know all these people. I mean, I went when we one of my first big covers was Crosby, Stills, Nash sitting on the couch, right?
Yeah,
that was in '69. I had met Stephen Stills in '63 in New York City. He was a young folk singer, and he would come to the Village Gate to see our band playing because he liked the harmony. We had 4-part harmony. So I knew him very well for years. And David Crosby, I'd known for years at the Troubadour Club, almost every night. And Graham Nash, I'd met in '66 in New York City with the Love and Spoonful, and I knew him.
Right,
I knew
yeah.
these guys. They were like, it's not that I knew them, they were pals of mine,
Right. On the
Yeah.
I would
scene.
see
Yeah.
them all the time. They were really close friends. And
Wow.
so, so when we did that picture of them on the couch, me and I had a graphic artist partner, Gary Burden, and they needed a publicity picture, and they were friends of ours. We said, well, come on, we'll drive around West LA and we'll do a publicity photo for you. And we did it on that couch.
Wow.
And then actually, so we had a little slideshow and looked at the pictures. And even though we were only shooting a picture for publicity, when the band saw that picture on the couch, they said, that would make a great album cover. But we just decided we're going to call ourselves Crosby, Stills, Nash. And in the picture, it's Nash, Stills, and Crosby. So then I said, well, let's just go back to the house. It'll take 5 minutes. You jump in the right order. I'll go click, 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 and we'll have it. And so a couple days later, we did drive back to the house, except the house was gone. We pulled up to the curb right where the house would be, and it was a vacant lot. It was bulldozed to the back of they made a parking lot out of it.
Wow.
And it was right around the time when Joni Mitchell had that song, Paved Paradise, put up a parking lot.
Right. Yeah. My husband is a musician and producer, Martin, and his project Geist, which is, Zeitgeist, Geist, and whatever. And the first album cover we were driving from the ass end of Desert Hot Springs to Las Vegas through the middle of nowhere. And there was an incredible house that was literally just held together by its own balance. It was like a house of matchsticks. And I took it looked like a creepy, whatever. And the same thing, we got to Vegas and I had a digital camera. And Martin was like, well, that's really good, but the sun is kind of glare. There's a bit of a bokeh. You know what? We'll drive home to LA, the ass end of nowhere. We'll drive past it again at a different time of day, jump out, and we'll take the picture. Well, son of a bitch, if there wasn't 70-mile-an-hour winds that night. And
my God.
We drove past. It was just a pile of wood. And I remember thinking of your exact story. I'm stood out there the ass end of Joshua Tree going, oh my God, I'm having a Crosby, Stills, Nash, Diltz moment right now.
Sometimes the universe will surprise you, right?
Yes, she will. Oh, yes, she will. She has. Sometimes the universe has a sense.
She will.
Yes. Sometimes she has a sense of humor, but not always. Staying with that theme, of all the extraordinary artists you photographed, you mentioned Joni Mitchell, James Taylor, Jackson Browne, the Eagles. Who was the easiest person to photograph in like an album cover or a portrait setting?
James Taylor was pretty easy. It was kind of one-on-one.
Yeah.
And that picture began with a phone call in my kitchen in Laurel Canyon. And what's the guy? Yes. I'd ask Peter Asher. So I forget names, He's a good friend of mine too, but still, I forget his name.
And just jumping in, Peter Asher was almost my brother-in-law because Paul was engaged to his sister Jane Asher. Jane Asher, Paul's fiance, is Peter Asher's sister. And the circle closes.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I'll be darned. Wow.
So anyway, sorry.
He called me one day and said, Henry, could you come down to my house this afternoon and photograph this young singer that I'm doing an album with? And his name's James Taylor. Okay, I'll come down. I went down and met him. He was sitting on the floor behind the piano, picking Oh Susanna on the guitar. It's an American folk song, but it was like a music box. It was so beautiful. And so I'd never met him before, but wow, I thought this guy is great. As a musician, you got it. It blew my mind as a musician. And we photographed a little, and I said, well, we need to go outdoors where there's light. I never used lights, and so we went out to my friend's sort of farm musical commune place. And just he and I walked around in the little sheds and barns, and we talked a little, and he leaned his arms on this big post. And once again, it framed so perfectly. And I, took the picture. Now they wanted publicity photos, so I was shooting mostly black and white because
Okay.
not magazines, but newspapers couldn't
Right.
shoot color, couldn't print color back in the late 60s, early 70s. So when he leaned on the post and I took the black and white publicity photo, I said, I really need a color slide of this because I want to put it in my weekend slideshow with my friends. So I said, don't move, James. And I reached down and picked up my color camera and took a color picture just for myself because I wanted to show it to my friends. And when Peter Asher saw that, he said, oh, this will make a great cover. And they used it for a cover. So that was an accidental album cover. That happens sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, God almighty.
And sometimes you think you're shooting an album cover and it doesn't get used, So there's accidental album covers where you never planned on it and ones where you planned on it, but it didn't happen.
Yeah.
You never
Well,
know.
I was going to ask you, every photographer has one photograph that got away. Is there one moment when you still wish you had captured?
Like when you had to change, you ran out of film or the lights went out or.
No,
No?
not
That's
really.
Oh, good.
There was one encounter where I was shooting up. It was a No Nukes concert in L.A.
Uh-huh.
And Bob Dylan was singing at it. Bob Dylan and Joan Baez. Well, I was kind of backstage, and I heard, oh, Dylan's on, and I ran out with my camera, and there were security guards, were guys from the university, wrestlers or big guys, And I ran out there with my camera, and the guy said, "No photos." And I said, "No, I have a photo pass. I'm shooting the concert, all that. No photos," he said, I said, "Listen, we're all here for this No Nukes concert to spread this word around the world. And there's Dylan and Joan Baez putting this message out to the world. And I am here to take a photo so we can send that into the world. And you are here keeping all that from happening."
That's telling him.
And he said, "Okay,
But yeah, I mean, what a dipshit. What did he think the whole point of the concert was, if not publicity?
I don't know.
Right? I mean,
Well, they don't want everybody taking pictures, and they don't know the difference. If they just someone told them no photos, and that was what he was going with.
wow.
I have a
But he was
saying.
wrong. He was wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Well, nowadays you go to these concerts and they have these Yondr pouches, don't they? Because everyone has a camera now with their phone. And so, a lot of these rock tours and especially comedy, because once a joke is told, it's told. You keep your phone, but it's locked up in a digital Yondr pouch. It's quite clever.
I know. I've never seen that really. I don't go to as many concerts now. I mean, I used to go to one every other night, back in the 60s, 70s, 80s. Now I don't go that often. I just see everybody with their cell phones. And it's fine now. They don't think of it as a camera, but it's really the finest camera,
It's actually not bad if you set it to 4K and you know what you're doing. I mean, it doesn't have mirrors and whatever, but I'm just glad that you had access back in the day to a camera and film and a little bit of money to get the film developed. But when you look back at my childhood growing up around the Beatles and people like Rod Stewart would come to stay for the weekend or whatever. I don't have any pictures of that because people didn't carry, film and cameras. You bought a film when you were going on your summer vacation. And then you went to the chemist and you had it and then you stuck it in a book and then it sits on a shelf. But now, I really do see smartphones as kind of the democratization of photography. Yeah. Even if you take crap pictures, they're yours to keep. Your memories of, your dog, your cat, or a cow in a field, even. Yeah. Or a truck and a cow.
That you can send them to everybody. It's great, really. It's revolutionized. I mean, I use my cell phone. Now and again, I'll be taking pictures of friends of mine, and I'll know that they want one of these pictures. Yeah. So I'll just pull my cell phone out and take a picture, and then I can immediately send that to everybody. Right. I don't have to wait until I download the chip and then spend a half hour looking through and finding and sending. That takes a lot of time, but you could do it immediately, you know.
That's right.
And
So
it's still, and it's to them intrinsically, it's still a Henry Diltz photograph because you
Well,
framed it. And
Uh-huh.
no.
it's
Don't
a
be
photograph. Yeah,
no,
it's a photograph.
but you
know.
took it. Don't be so dang modest. My goodness. me.
I'm just the guy that pushes the button, you know. That's
I
Oh,
don't
really.
think
yeah.
so. I
No,
think
no.
not. How
The
did
less I do, the better. I am not a pushy photographer that tells everybody what to do, because I would get kicked right out of the dressing room, you know, or backstage if they don't. You know, musicians don't like to be pushed around, or you know, they just don't like pushy people. And so
Right.
I don't. I just sit there quietly, you know, just as a friend, and they don't notice it when I take a picture. A lot of times, that's what I try for, you know.
right? But I
Of
mean,
course, if you do a group shot or an album cover, you have to
Yes,
get
of
the
course.
guys in the right position, and
right.
you know. But Gary and I were good at doing that. Yeah.
So not just with your body of work, but you've also been able to use your name and celebrity to shine a light on other photographers. So
You co-founded the Morrison Hotel Gallery, didn't you? That's where we saw your
Yes.
John Lennon,
Yes.
Julian Lennon show.
how did that
And
come about?
once again, you know, a big happy accident, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I had a friend, Peter Blatchley, who had worked at the video department of Capitol Records, you know, 10 years earlier. And he was a good friend of mine. We hung out, and one day he just said, you know, Henry, now his Chinese animal was a rat. And a rat.
Mine is a rat.
Okay. Well, a rat is usually, you know, they go straight to the food, straight arrow. They're, you know, I've got an idea. We should do this. And then they do it, you know. And that was Peter. And he said, Henry, we ought to open a little gallery and sell your pictures. Bang, you know, wow, that's a great idea. And we found a guy, Rich Horowitz, who had sold John Lennon lithographs around the country.
Yum.
And we talked to him. He said, I would love to do that. And so we went across the country having little pop-up photo galleries, ended up in New York, in Soho, finally found a little storefront and opened up a little gallery there, you know. But we have no name for it. We just, in little letters, it said the photography of Henry Diltz. It was just my pictures up in this little storefront with a big window. One day I was across the street with Peter watching our store. And then we had in the window a big blow up of the Doors Morrison Hotel photograph. Not, you know, it was the whole photograph of that album.
Right.
And it was in the window. And people would walk by and they'd stop and they'd look at it and then they'd walk in. And I said, Peter, look, that photo is like a magnet. You know, people start to walk by and they stop and they walk back and they look. And then they walk in, they want to see what else is in there. And I said, but that's really great. But look at, on that photograph is that big, beautiful arc of writing, Morrison Hotel. Look up above that on our window, it's blank. We don't have anything. He said, that's a great idea. I'm going to hire a sign painter tomorrow and we'll put Morrison Hotel on our window while that picture is there, you know, just to get attention. And of course, it stuck, right? And became our name. And then we added, one day Peter said, Henry, we ought to have a second photographer because then we could have an opening and a party and all that. And who of all your peers would you like to have in the gallery with you? And I said, Jim Marshall. Because Jim Marshall was a San Francisco photographer and a friend from on the road. And he was like my guru, you know, and so he became, and we had a huge party, lots of people. And then we got a third guy, Neil Preston, and then we got Bob Gruen, and then we got, you know, one by one. In the end, we had 125 photographers.
Wow.
Well, I say the end. I mean, it's still, we started in 2000, so 26 years old. But 3 years ago, we sold the business part of the gallery, the running of it. I'm still represented, and they show my photos in the gallery. And but someone else, a money group, has taken over the financial part. But
yeah, it's a lot of work. But you still have the gallery in the Sunset Marquee, right? Which is where we last saw.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sunset Marquee and one in New York, in Soho on Prince Street.
Right.
And we had one in Lahaina, of course, but Lahaina burned to the ground along with with our gallery, which was
Tragic.
Mick Fleetwood's club.
That's
Restaurant.
right.
And the whole thing burned down. Too bad, boy.
Oh, I know, that was true. One of our friends and guests, who's an incredible, her name is Shannon. She's an artist, and she airbrushes photorealistic stuff, and it's her main study has been the Beatles, and she's done pieces for Steven Spielberg's private collection and Oprah's private collection and what have you. And she had just flown all of her big originals to a gallery on Front Street, and it burned down, and she lost everything to it. I know.
But they were. You're saying they were paintings, right?
Yes, and they took her
That's
year.
too bad. Yeah.
I know.
See, when it's photos, I mean, we lost 50 or 60 photos, but we had the negatives. We could reprint them. That's different. Yeah, a lot of artists. It was very unfortunate. There were a lot of painting shops and stuff there. Yeah,
I think Fleetwood's is coming back, though. I heard a rumor that they're rebuilding Fleetwood's. So
I'm sure they will. I've talked to many people. I've talked to many people about it, and I say, yeah, probably 3 years, and then everybody's, oh no, 10 years. They say it'll take 10 years, but it'll start and it'll build. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, who knows with permits and insurance and all of those crazy things. So with the gallery now.
How does the gallery choose which artists to show and in what order?
Or is that all on the business side now?
Well, it's funny, we used to do it by artists. I would have a show, Jim Marshall would have a show. And then we realized, but if we did it by subject matter, you could have a lot of photographers, like we do Joni Mitchell. And it could be 10 or 12 photographers involved.
Oh, gotcha.
That way, kind of more people come. It's, there's more to see. And so we do it that way. We just, like next week, we're having a show of Janis Joplin in New York. Yeah, in Soho on Prince Street.
Wow.
Next Thursday night. When is that? That's this week. Yeah. A few days, right? A couple of days. Thursday night, we have a Janis Joplin opening at our gallery. Yeah, I'll be there.
That's fantastic. So you also you're also on the road, right? So you keep talking about the fond memories of your weekend slideshows with your friends, but you recreate that now, don't you? And give slideshows and talk and put people back in the room with you sort of when it happens. When's the next one? When can we see some of that?
Well, I will on next weekend. I'll be at Cindy Stock in Pittsburgh.
Okay.
So that is like the 20th, 21st, 22nd. And Cindy is a lady who has a cancer charity. She's been doing it for 20 some years. And she invites 5 or 6 bands to play. And she has a little Woodstock concert in her backyard. There's a little sloping hillside where people can sit on their little folding chairs. And so we're stopping by there to do a slideshow. And then I think I go to Sun Valley in the middle of September. Well, I go to Connecticut on September 4th, 5th, and 6th. And I'll be doing a monkey slideshow there, just monkey pictures.
Okay.
And then we go to Sun Valley the middle of September. November, I'm spending 2 weeks going all the way up the West Coast. All the way from Southern California on up to Oregon and Washington. And we'll do 10 or 12 slideshows up there. So we keep doing it. Yeah.
That's fantastic. Ashley's asking a random question. Did you know Roland Sherman or Spider Martin in the 60s? Did you come across
I know the name Roland Sherman, but who was he?
Spider,
I have a thing with names, after 88 years.
You are
thousands of names, thousands of faces. So, but I do have trouble I know that name is familiar, Roland Sherman, but I don't know. Wow. Yeah.
So it's just but you also are coming home to LA at the Troubadour in December, aren't you?
That's right. Doing a slideshow there. I did one last December, and we're going to do another one this December. Yeah.
Ah, well, you know, a Christmas tradition. Should I bring a sticky toffee pudding with a candle in it and some
Sure. Yeah, sure.
and
So I
some
see people writing in Pittsburgh. I'll be there. Elizabeth just said.
yeah.
Okay, you have to look up Cindy Stock.
Yep.
Cindy Stock, Cindy Stock, and you'll find it. Yeah, that's great.
Elizabeth
Um,
is our crazy sister from another mister. She does everything she can to promote
okay.
Mrs.
Okay.
McCartney's teas and
Yeah.
Angie's
Oh wow.
and the spirit. No,
Yeah.
we have a real great rock and roll TeaFlix family here. And
Yeah.
but the next step after Cindy Stock, the next step for you is in North Haven, Connecticut at the M60 Monkeys
Right.
Convention that people can
Right.
look up. But I would encourage you all to go to henrydiltz.com and sign up for, you know, the news, the latest, the greatest. Go
Yeah.
see this wonderful spiritual. You are a force of nature, my friend. It has just been such an honor to spend an hour with you. It truly
Well, I
has.
just lucky enough to, I don't know, just one thing happened after another. But yeah, what was I going to say? Yeah, henrydiltz.com. You can order photos there, and I'll have photos in Connecticut. I'll have monkey photos, and we're going to sell. These are monkey love beads that I'm wearing right here.
Oh,
But really, in the 60s, the little girls would wait outside the recording studio or the filming studio, and they all would make these love bead necklaces, but they were all random, just random colors, no pattern. And so one night I went home to my place in Laurel Canyon, and I thought, I'm going to make my own love beads, but instead of random, they're going to be very particular. There's going to be 5 blue, 5 white, 5 blue, 5 white, and there was one red one at the very end. And I wore them to the monkey set the next day. And the first thing Davy Jones runs up to, he says, "Hey, man, could you make me some of those beads?" I said, "Sure, Davy." So that night I made him some, put them on. The next day, the cameraman said, "Henry, would you make me some of those beads you made Davy?" "Sure, Al, and then pretty soon, a number of people were wearing my love beads, and the girls who worked at the teeny bopper magazines, the music magazines, would hang out on the set because they could interview the monkeys between scenes, and so they started writing about monkey love beads, and the magazines started selling them in a packet, do your own. So anyway, me and some friends of mine have started making these monkey love beads, and we'll have some of those there. We're trying to bring love beads back. We need a little more love in the world.
Well, do you remember David Cassidy and his puka shells? The puka shells.
My wife made those puka shells for him. We'd gone over there with him. Yeah, a bunch of us went over to a house, a seashore house, and stayed there. And that was all the surfers' girlfriends, while their boyfriends were surfing.
Yeah,
they would sit there and make puka shell necklaces.
yeah.
It got very popular once David wore them. Yeah.
I still have my David Cassidy fan club T-shirt from 1973, and it's the graphic on it is the ad from Tiger Beat for the puka shell necklace, and I think it was
great.
I think there was 65 cents plus postage or something.
Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness sake! Yeah. Well, David. After I did the monkeys in '67, in '72, my phone rang and it was the Tiger Beat again. The same guy, the same photo editor said, "Henry, we'd like to hire you for the day to go down and photograph the Partridge Family." And just a typical day, on the set. And then the first day I met David. Once again, we were roughly the same age. I was a couple years older, but we just hit it off. We were both musicians. We started talking about other musicians we knew, and we just became friends right away. And so I spent the whole year photographing the Partridge Family for these magazines, album covers, and posters that little girls put up in their bedrooms. And then I also went on a round the world tour with David, just like the monkeys. Whole year going around the world a couple of times, and he was a good pal.
He
Good
was a
fun.
lovely man. I know. I decided when I was 12 that I was going to save all my pocket money and mail myself to Columbia Pictures in Burbank in a box, and I was going to pack sandwiches, and David Cassidy was going to open the box and marry me. You know, that was just how that was going to go. So,
wow.
Long story short, I didn't meet him until the 80s, and I stepped in to an elevator at Neiman Marcus in Beverly Hills, and in the elevator was Cassidy, and I just nearly lost my mind. And I started blabbering, and I went, see this snaggle tooth here, see the tooth that I got. I did that on purpose with a teaspoon, so my teeth would match your teeth, and he's backing up against the wall.
Yeah.
Oh my God, she's insane.
Yeah.
She's insane. But we became friends, and we wound up many years later. My husband and I built DavidCassidy.com. We started his digital fan club. We organized his mailing list. And I do miss the dear man. He was just a sweet little elf. He was a lovely boy.
Yes.
Tell Henry about Paul calling him for you.
Oh yeah. So when I was 72, and right before I met you in Manchester, Cassidy was staying at the Dorchester in London, but he was staying under a pseudonym, David Jackson, because he was David Jackson's son, right? Jax Cassidy's son.
Right. Yes.
And so Paul called his handlers and what have you, and they called Ruth Aarons. Do you remember his manager, Ruth Aarons?
Yes, I do. Of course.
And so we got the name and the number, and I'm on the extension. And Paul picks up the phone. He's home for the weekend, and he gets through to Cassidy's room, and we hear hello, and Paul says, "Is this David Bruce Bruce Jackson?" Because David's middle name, and he's like, and he said, "It might be. Who's this?" And Paul said, "Well, this is Paul McCartney of Wings. I used to be in the Beatles." And Cassidy said, yeah, and I'm the fucking Duke of Edinburgh, and hung up the phone.
Oh, you're kidding.
No,
they never got to talk. Oh my
No,
God.
I never got to talk to him. But then Paul called, the office called back, and he said, "Well, can you please send a bunch of autographed pictures and whatever." So I got a whole box, which I still have, the old vinyl LPs, all the albums, and the picture still hangs at the wall. And so subsequently, when I bumped into him in the 80s and told him my name and told him that, he said, "I remember signing a bunch of autographed stuff for you. Did you ever get it?" And I said, "Yes, I did." And we just, again, we just hit it off and became friends, and built his website. And
that's so great.
He was just an absolute sweetheart. But life goes on, and some of us are still here, and some of us.
He was, I mean, all the people that I've photographed in my life are my heroes, and sometimes at slideshows I say, folks, there's a reason most of these people are famous and loved so much for their music and their poetry, and they are amazing people. They all are. I mean, if someone like David Cassidy, he's just great. He's just, I don't know how. I mean, I love people. I'm very interested in people. I'm curious about people, like that tiger peeking through the bushes, And I mean, when I went to college for a couple of years, I majored in psychology. I didn't want to be a psychologist, but I wanted to know about people, what makes them work, So being a photographer, hanging out with people and just watching them and trying to get interesting visual pictures of them is just right up my alley. It's just what I love to do.
So Dr. Henry, what the hell do you think's wrong with the two of us?
Not a thing. You both look beautiful. You both look lovely together. You look like sisters.
Yeah, 31 years apart.
Yeah.
So for our final crazy question, which it's the only question we ever send a guest in advance, so that they can think about. So,
can you name 3 people, living or dead, that you wish you could have photographed?
All right. Yes. Well, the first person that when I'm asked this question, who do you wish you'd photograph that you never got a chance to, would be John Lennon. because I did photograph Paul, of course, Paul and Linda, and I photographed Ringo a lot lately. We're good friends.
Yep.
And I photographed George at Bangladesh and a
Right.
couple places backstage, but I never had a chance to photograph John Lennon. I met him once briefly at Shea Stadium in the dressing room, but they said no photos, can't take any photos. So I never got a chance to photograph him. But Bob Gruen, a good friend of mine in New York, did that beautiful shot of him wearing the New York City T-shirt, on the rooftop. So he was well photographed. But so that would be the first one, and because I never did all 4 Beatles, just 3.
And
Secondly,
also our good friend May Pang, who was with John, has got some incredible photographs as well. So yeah, you're right. He was well photographed.
Yes, he was. Second of all, I think, well, when I first got interested in music, it was kind of West Coast jazz. It was kind of in the 50s, and there was a trumpet player singer named Chet Baker.
Oh, yes.
Beautiful voice and a beautiful sort of a liquid sound that was so beautiful. And I really love music. It's in my soul. It's, and the way, gosh, nobody would play a solo like him.
Wow.
Now, it went blank for a second. Oh, there it's back. There's another guy, too, Paul Desmond, who plays the saxophone with them. He played in Dave Brubeck's group. And they would play these standards, like Laura or Moonlight Serenade. And they would play, first they would just play the melody, then they go off into their solo. And it's just so poetic and so beautiful. Their solo is based on the same chords, but they're playing a whole different song.
Wow.
If you understand what I mean. But you can hum Moonlight Serenade while they're playing another song, but with the same chords in it. And it fries my brain. I love it. So those guys, I think those 2 guys. And then I was thinking for my third one, and when I did, I didn't say Paul Desmond, I was thinking maybe Marilyn Monroe. Because she was a beautiful lady. I never got to photograph, but but I don't really jones to photograph people that I haven't
I'm
ever
sure you
done.
don't.
It's whatever it is, it's fine.
It's
I
you photographed so many incredible people that it's kind of a silly question to ask you, but I love the fact that the answer includes some of these West Coast jazz dudes. Our friend Paul Moody, who is watching from Playa today, his mom Jeannie, who God rest her soul, on the beach here every year in Playa, she used to throw like all of the big jazz players would just come down to the beach and we'd barbecue and they'd play and whatever. It's still a huge, Steve Tyrell is one of our clients, and I love the fact that jazz
That's great. Yeah.
Brazilian jazz.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It's all still around. It's not all just synthesizers.
I love Brazilian jazz, and I love, when singing in a quartet. And before that, I sang in glee clubs and choirs and high school and college, all over the place. And
you're not just a pretty face, are you?
And I play the clarinet a little. I play cool jazz on the clarinet. I love world music. I mean, I love, oud music and bouzouki music from Greece. And one of my favorite kinds of music is African pygmy singers chanting.
Oh,
they
yes.
chant like forest voices. And I can't, I'm not going to try to imitate it, but African pygmies chanting and singing in the forest. One of the most elemental, kind of beautiful, beautiful sounds that human beings can make.
So we just want to close out with a limerick that Mrs. McCartney, Dr. McCartney, has written especially for you because she's the author of a book called Mrs. McCartney's Liverpool Limericks and Other Random Irish Haikus. And if you are ready to count it in, if you are sitting comfortably, Henry, then
let's do it.
We will end our broadcast with a limerick just for you. Are you ready?
I am. On 1, 2, 3. Henry Diltz.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, we'll start again. 1, 2,
3.
Henry Diltz has a knack with a lens, snapping pictures of stars who are friends. With a laugh and a grin, he's a backstage kingpin, catching magic before the night ends. Ta-da! There you go.
Hey,
Hey.
I love that.
Now you're famous.
Oh, can I put that on my card? I'll put that on my
You
name
can-
card.
I
That's
will
very
send-
beautiful.
yeah, I will
Thank you,
send it to
Angela. Thank you.
Yeah, you're very
Absolutely.
welcome.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for taking the time. Go see Henry and his monkey slideshow, September 4, 5, and his birthday, 6. So take a
Yes.
cupcake with a candle in it, please. But don't set fire
Right.
to the trash.
North Haven, Connecticut. North
Yep.
Haven, Connecticut. We'll see you there if you can make it.